What's up, YouTube? It's your girl Kenzo for Life here, and today we're going to be talking about something I hold very, very personal. We're going to be talking about the 5 worst Call of Duty changes driven by greed. You know, it feels like every time we log into Call of Duty now, the very first thing the game does is ask us to open our wallets. It wasn't always like this. Remember when unlocking that gold camo or that awesome operator skin was a reward for your skill? Not just a transaction? When it was a badge of honor to actually earned by grinding, by putting in the hours with your friends? Activision's greed seems to have hit a breaking point, and it's fundamentally changing the game we grew up with for the worse. They've lost the trust of a community that propped this franchise up for decades. So today, we're not just complaining, we're breaking down the 5 absolute worst, most insulting changes they've made in the name of profit. Let's just take a quick step back. Think about the golden age of Call of Duty, that incredible run from Call of Duty 4 to Black Ops 2. Those weren't just games, they were cultural phenomenon. They were balanced, they were bursting with content on day one, and the whole progression system was built around one simple thing: playing the game. You wanted a gold gun, you had to earn it with headshots. You wanted that slick emblem, you had to grind out some ridiculous challenge. Every single unlock told a story. It was a system that respected your time and rewarded your dedication. That respect, it's gone. It's been replaced by a system that feels designed to exploit your wallet at every turn. The focus has shifted from creating a fun, rewarding gameplay loop to building a confusing, never-ending digital mall. It feels less like a passion project and more like an item on a quarterly earnings report. This isn't just resisting change. This is a betrayal of the basic deal we as players used to get. We used to pay for a full game and get a full experience. Now, we pay full price for the privilege of being sold even more stuff. That loss of trust is the backdrop for every single point on this list. Kicking off our list at number 5 is the new normal in the Call of Duty economy. Paying way, way more for way, way less. I'm talking about the constant barrage of crossover events and their premium bundles. Take the big crossover events, for example. The Beavis and Butthead and now Family Guy events are showing the greed front and center, and they no longer care if we see it. And then you see how they're monetized. To get the final grand prize of an event, you often don't just buy one bundle. No, you frequently have to purchase multiple separate cosmetic packs with individual bundles often costing $20 to $30. This means that to complete a collection and get that one final item, you could be spending more than the price of the base game itself. And for that price, for that level of investment, you'd think these items would be incredible, right? Maybe a unique effect, a spectacular animation. Most of the time, no. It's just another skin. This isn't just about an overpriced bundle. It's a slap in the face. It represents a total disregard for value. It's a test to see how much they can charge for how little, and it sets a horrifying precedent for what they think our money is worth. At number 4, we have the evolution of the Battle Pass into a confusing, layered paywall maze. The original Battle Pass concept, while still about money, was at least simple. You buy one pass a season, play the game, and unlock stuff. Easy. But that wasn't enough, was it? Now, nearly every major in-season event has its own extra payment track. We see it constantly with big crossovers. You might already own the main Battle Pass, but to get the best rewards from the cool limited time event, you have to fork over more cash for a premium event track. Suddenly, that one-time seasonal purchase has turned into a constant drip of overlapping microtransactions. This creates a system designed to weaponize FOMO, the fear of missing out against you. It preys on your desire to be part of the game's biggest moments. You want that new operator skin. You want the unique weapon from the latest crossover. Get ready to open your wallet again and again. It's because a frustrating chore just to figure out what you even need to buy to get the content you want. What used to be exciting community events are now tiered experiences. The free version, the Battle Pass version, and the premium event pass version. It's a cynical strategy to bleed the players dry. Coming in at number 3 is a change that hits you before you even see a single microtransaction. The jump to a $70 price tag for the base game. For years, the standard for a big new game was $60. Now, with recent titles, we're at the new benchmark of $70. You could try to argue that inflation and development costs justify this, but that argument falls apart when you look at the whole picture. That $70 entry fee is just the start of the spending. The price of the game is going up, while the actual value you get inside is plummeting. You pay more at the door, only to find the inside is filled with more toll booths than ever before. This feels completely out of line, especially when many of these games launch feeling thinner than their predecessors, relying on seasonal content to drip feed which should have been there on day one. And let's be real, this price hike is happening while Activision is reporting record-breaking revenue from in-game sales. They aren't hurting for cash. This is a double dip, plain and simple. They're raising the cover charge while planning to sell you more overpriced drinks inside. And it shows a total focus on milking every penny, starting with the price of the admission itself. Look, if you're as fed up with this as I am, make sure you subscribe to the channel and let me know in the comments. What was the one change that made you realize Call of Duty was losing its way? I read all of them, and it's important our voices are heard together on this. At number 2, we have one of the most shameless and disrespectful monetization tactics I have ever seen in a full-price games. Putting pop-up ads inside the loadout menus of Black Ops 6. This wasn't a banner on the main menu. This was an unavoidable, in-your-face ad for a cosmetic bundle that would appear while you were doing the most basic thing in Call of Duty, building your class. Imagine trying to swap an attachment or tune your weapon only to be interrupted by a pop-up begging you to spend another $30. It turns a core part of the gameplay loop into something you'd expect from a cheap mobile game. And this was in a premium $70 title. The community backlash was instant and furious. It was seen as crossing a sacred line. Activision quickly backpedaled, removing the feature and claiming it was a UI feature test that was published in error. But nobody's buying that. It wasn't an error. It was a test balloon. They were testing the waters to see what they could get away with. The answer was a deafening no. Even if it was a mistake, the very fact this was developed and considered shows a profound lack of respect for the player. It reveals a mindset where no part of the game is off limits. And here it is, the number one worst, most dangerous, and greediest change in Call of Duty history. The reported plan to lock gameplay itself behind a paywall. Credible leaks revealed that for Call of Duty 2025, Activision was planning to gate certain higher value limited time modes or LTMs exclusively behind the purchase of the Battle Pass. Let's be crystal clear. For the entire history of this franchise, new game modes have been free. Map packs used to split the player base, a practice that was rightfully abandoned. But this is infinitely worse. This isn't about selling cosmetics. This is about selling access to play the game. LTMs were supposed to bring the whole community together. Instead, there were credible plans to turn them into exclusive clubs for those willing to pay an entrance fee. This move would shatter the community, creating a two-tiered system of players, those who play for gameplay and those who don't. It breaks the fundamental promise that once you buy the game, you get to play the game. According to the reports, there weren't just going to be minor modes. They'd be higher value LTMs with unique mechanics. Now, after intense backlash, Activision has denied these specific plans, but the fact this strategy was credibly reported as being on the table tells you everything. They showed their hand. The line between selling optional cosmetics and selling gameplay access has been crossed in their minds. This is the ultimate expression of greed, prioritizing recurring revenue over a fair and unified experience. It is the most insulting change because it threatens to take away something that was always a given: the right to play the game you paid for. So there you have it. Outrageously priced bundles, a confusing maze of event passes, the ever-increasing price of the game, invasive ads in our menus, and the ultimate sin of trying to paywall actual gameplay. Each of these is a problem on its own, but together they paint a grim picture of a franchise being hollowed out by its publisher. A franchise that no longer seems to respect its players or its own legacy. The soul of what made Call of Duty special, the thrill of fair competition, the reward of a challenge met, the sense of a massive unified community is being eroded, one microtransaction at a time. The developers are still incredibly talented, but they're working inside a corporate machine that puts profit above all else. The only question left is, where does it end? How much more will the community tolerate? Is there a point of no return? Or can our collective voice actually save this franchise from its own publisher? Thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. It really helps a lot. And until next time, you guys, respectfully, stay frosty.